Today we dive into the importance and significance of the Midway Drive-In Theater. The Midway Drive-In was opened in the summer of 1948 and was built by Reuben and Irving Cantor. We caught up with a teacher from the Oswego High School who was close friends with the current owner and asked him a few questions concerning the Midway Drive-In. We then caught up with some Oswego High School students and asked them what their favorite memories were from the Midway Drive-In. This week on Around Oswego.
I typically will visit the drive-in. I think of it less like in terms of like how many times a month than over the course of the season. So I try to go to the very, very opening weekend of the season, and I try to be the last car out as the final night. So typically between 15 and 20 times a season, sometimes as many as 25. This past year, of course, because of the issue with the screen tower coming down, it was a little less. So. The drive-in in town, I'm not only friends with the owner of the place and a total cinephile, I love movies, but it's also kind of a link to my personal history as a movie fan, because the first time I ever went to the movies in public was at a drive-in movie theater in Shazy, New York. This was way back in 1974. So last year would have been my 40th anniversary of being a movie watcher. So I sort of symbolically linked the Midway with the first drive-in that I ever went to. And in fact, I like the Midway more than the first drive-in I ever went to, because like lots of drive-ins around the state of New York, the Border Drive-In, that's the one I first attended, no longer exists. It was torn down. So it's a place where friends go to meet. It feels a little more democratic and open than sitting in a Cineplex. I like its link to history. Drive-ins have a history that goes back to the early 1930s. And the Midway Drive-In in town has a history now that's nearly 60 years old. So you feel like you're connected to something bigger than yourself. So it's not just that I love the movies, I also like the place as kind of artifact. The number of people at the drive-in on an average night, it's a good question, and it varies quite a bit. If during the very beginning of the season, the drive-ins only open on weekends. Once the public school year ends in late June, they're open 7 days a week. So at the beginning of the season, my wife and I are basically forced to go on the weekends. So you have pretty good turnouts. I mean, you can have 200 cars there. I've been on nights where there are like 600 cars on the lot. So you imagine 2 to 3 people a piece in each of those cars, and you got a pretty good turnout. When the drive-in screen went down fairly early in the summer, well, I remember, like those things, where were you when this happened? I remember exactly where I was when I found out. My good buddy Greg Brown and I were on our way back from a hiking excursion out in the Adirondacks, and he got a text message from his girlfriend saying, "Have you seen the news?" And we had to pull the car over because initially we were both in shock. I was like, "This has got to be a cruel joke. This can't have happened." So we drove actually in almost complete silence, like the last hour and a half back to Oswego from being out in the Adirondacks, because we just didn't want to believe it. And when I got to witness it, and when I saw that the news stories were legitimate, the way my wife and I described it, it felt like there had been a death in the family. And some folks think that's a little hyperbolic, that's exaggerated. How can, it's a drive-in movie screen. Well, there's a dwindling number of drive-ins in the entire country, and we only have somewhere between 2 and 3 dozen drive-in movie theaters in New York State. And because of the way digital technology is demanding that all these theaters change over, something like a screen tower going down could be like, we don't have the money to put this screen tower back up. And we were worried we were going to lose the drive-in movie theater. And being good friends with the family who run the place, they were emotionally devastated. It wasn't just like business was going to be ruined for them. It was this important link to the community. So yeah, the best way to describe it, it felt like a death in the family. I stopped driving down Route 48. I couldn't stand to see the screen all collapsed in on itself, and it couldn't have been more perfect. The thing tore right through the middle of it's almost like the storm purposely buzzsawed right in the middle of the screen tower.
My favorite memory from the Midway Drive-In would probably be the one time me and my buddy Christian Carey went out there. It was later in the afternoon, and going into nighttime, we watched Iron Man 3 and some other movie, and we had pizza and a bunch of other stuff. But it was just really, really cold, but you know, it's fun to watch all those movies.
My favorite memory from the Midway Drive-In is probably when I went and saw Planet of the Apes over the past summer. Me and my buddies, it was a great time. We were playing football actually, and right before the movie, and my buddy Noah Lee got injured. He got hurt his shoulder because I hit him too hard, you know.
I think my favorite memory from the drive-in was, you know, when you were little and you used to go early and you got there before the movies and all the kids used to play like frisbee or touch football in front of the screen in that big open field. That was great because, I mean, there was a lot of different people that I didn't know, but everybody just kind of was there for like the same thing, like all the kids. All they wanted to do was play. So that's all anybody ever did. And the food was great. Concession stand food, best food out there.
I'd say that my favorite memory from the Midway Drive-In is one time me and my brother went to go see Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and this kid was walking, and it was about fall, and it was raining, and this kid was walking, and he slipped and fell in the mud. That's probably my favorite time of the Midway Drive-In.
So my favorite memory from drive-in is playing football when the movie doesn't start yet. I mean, because you're really loud and no one cares what you're doing because they're all in their cars. And I guess it's fun. That's what's fun about it.